Hello and welcome back to another tech article. Today we're going to cover something that came up in the FlowMattic Facebook group, and really this video is about making a custom app with FlowMattic. But in this particular example, we're going to do it with Cloudflare, and we are going to do it so that we can block a IP address that has caused some issue on our site. They say they're buying stuff that they shouldn't be buying on WooCommerce, or it's fraud, and we want to block them from being able to access our site. It came up in the group, could we do it? And the answer was yes, but it would require a custom app. So I'm going to design that custom app. I'm going to put that custom app into place. A custom Cloudflare integration will be put together by the end of this video. You will watch me do it in its entirety. A new app, a new workflow. I won't write the script that is going to trigger the integration, because you can do that many ways. I actually recorded a video for the first half of that. The question was about doing it on the move, and I have recorded earlier last week a video about triggering it from your iOS device. So I'm not going to go through that today, but today I will use a batch script to do that, just to make it easier on the command line from my Windows machine. So the first place to start when looking to build a custom app is going to be the API documentation. And for that, I do recommend Postman. Most of them are on here in some way, shape or form. And it's a really good piece of software. It's a really useful guide. And I trailed through the guidance here, and I found the correct zone modifier to block our IP address, and it's the one that's on the screen now, which is create access role. So it's this one here. You'll notice it's a post command, and these things will become important later. And although we're not going to manually code this, I think it's important you understand what we're doing and the reason we're doing it. So it does make this video a bit longer. It does make it a little bit harder, but there is a really nifty little way of just importing the curl command and doing very little to make it work. But I think sometimes you might not be able to do that for whatever reason. So understanding and being able to fault find your own commands and your own integrations is going to be really useful to you. So for this one to work, we have to send headers of content type of JSON, an XORF key, which is your API key in Cloudflare speak, and your email address. And this is the email address that you use to log into Cloudflare. And the payload or body of that API request will contain a mode, which will be challenge, block, whitelist, JS challenge, and a configuration which will be the IP range or country that you wish to target, and a value for that target, i.e. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 4, etc. And a note for the reason why you've added this block. And that is basically how we assemble this command. So it will send a post command to this URL with the zone ID changed to the zone that we want to influence, sending these details, and that gives us this command here. So if we click view more, this is a fully formed curl command. If we put this on the command line with the right details in it, it would do what we want to do. So I'm going to copy that, and I've also taken at this point, because I will need them later and I don't really want to keep coming back here if we can avoid it, I'm going to take the XORF email and the XORF key and put them in my text document for use later. So what this targets in our Cloudflare account is here, the WAF, the Web Application Firewall. And this is at the zone level. So this affects this entire zone, and a zone in Cloudflare is a domain. So if we then go over to our FlowMattic instance, and this is a clean FlowMattic instance, it's got no custom apps, it's got no current workflows. I deleted them all before this started. It does have some variables, some custom variables, which I will use during this email, during this video, to cover my email and my Cloudflare key. The reason for that is it saves me having to enter them and blur them out later. It means that they are there, they're already in the system. I can use them in multiple workflows without having to worry about adding them. And if you'd like me to do a video on custom variables, ask and I will do one, but they are quite simple. So for this, we're going to start off doing two things. I'm going to start by making a new workflow. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to add the trigger to my batch script I will use later. So I'm going to do that now so I don't forget to do it later when we're in the flow. So I'm going to go new workflow. I'm going to create this workflow, which we're called Cloudflare. And it's going to be a webhook trigger. And then I'm just going to save that workflow. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste this off screen into my batch script, so that it's there and it's ready for when we want to use it. And if anyone's interested, it is a very simple batch script. Let's see if I can put it up on a editing window and just bring it across for you. It doesn't do a lot. It just asks a few questions and then send it to our URL, which is the same as what we've got here. So I'll close that down and we'll come back to FlowMattic. So now that's done, our workflow's saved. That means I am ready to go when we get to it in a few minutes. So I'm going to go over to custom apps and I'm going to begin to assemble our custom app. Now, I said earlier, this is quite simple, particularly with a curl importer, and we'll come back for the curl importer because I will need that. We'll go back to the API in a second because I'll need that. So we need to give this a name first, and I'm going to give this Cloudflare custom app, a custom app for Cloudflare. I'm really imaginative here. Now I'm going to push no authentication here because I deal with authentication in a second. But you have to put something here, even if you're not using it. If you don't, it won't save, and it doesn't actually tell you that that's not the case. Same with the app logo, and I'm going to give this an app logo of a Cloudflare logo that's circular. And the reason I've done that, and I will show you when I put them together, because I've intentionally downloaded the native integration to show you the difference, so you can see the difference and the logo, etc. So I'm going to save that app information, and we've started to assemble our app. And we know it's not a trigger, and the reason we know it's not a trigger is because a webhook is a trigger, something that starts the process. So we don't need this. Isn't the start of our process. This is the end or part of our process. So it's an action. So we go to action because that's what we're going to build, and we're going to create a new action for this. We need to give our action a name, and if we go over to our Cloudflare API, I said we weren't going to keep going back and forth here, but we probably will because it'll be easier. Create access rule. That's what we're going to call it, and I'm going to put that in the description. Now, we are going to use the import curl request, which is an outstanding feature of FlowMattic. Outstanding. It's so simple. But we've already discussed most of these, so I thought I'd go over them again so you can see where the boxes go in. In fact, I'll tell you what, we'll import it and then we'll do it because you can see how brilliant this importer is. And you're going through it might give you a better, deeper understanding. So we're going to go back to the Postman documents. We're going to copy the rule. We're going to go back to our custom app. We're going to import curl request, and we're just going to paste what we copied. It'll think about it for a few seconds, and it will build most of our custom app for us. That's simple. So we said it was a post command. This is the endpoint. The zone ID is a variable. It's a JSON response. We've got a body here of zone ID because the zone ID is important. It's in our URL. Mode, that's our block, challenge, etc. Then we've got configuration target, be that IP or range, then a value, i.e. our IP, and then our notes. So that is pretty much our web app built. One thing I have noticed, it doesn't automatically add headers. I don't know why, but it didn't. So we're just going to add those. It shouldn't take us more than a few minutes, few seconds to add them because I copied and pasted them earlier. So we need XORF email. We go into the settings. We give it a label. Help text, Cloudflare email. Default value, leave blank. And that's that one done. And then we're going to add one more, which is our XORF key. And we're going to add that in here. We are going to put a field label of XORF key. We're going to say API key in here. We're going to save that. And we're just going to check through our options, make sure they're all there. They are. So we are going to save our custom app and our custom action. And that's it. We now have a custom app with a custom action. If I reload this now, you should see it. Here's our custom Cloudflare app. And that is it built. We have now built our custom Cloudflare app. That is now available to us as any other app and integration would be within FlowMattic. So we're going to go back to our workflow. And this is the one we set up earlier. So we're going to edit this workflow. And the first thing I'm going to do is capture this webhook using that batch script we made earlier. So we've sent a capture. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to type in here Cloudflare demo. It's going to ask me for an IP address, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to ask me for a zone ID, and this is the zone ID I'm going to enter here. And it's going to ask me the reason for blocking bad actor. And that sent that response to our thing, and actually you can see it's already received our response. Now we're going to have to come back to that in a second, so let's clear that, and we will map this now to our Cloudflare. So this has got all the information we now need for our custom Cloudflare app. So we're going to search for Cloudflare. And as you can see, and I said earlier, I've given it a different logo so it's easier to distinguish between the native integration and what we've just created. So this one is the native integration, which doesn't do what we need it to do in this case. There are unbelievable amounts of stuff in the API for Cloudflare. We can't do everything. But we need to do something we can't, so we've made it. So we'll click our Cloudflare custom app. We only have one action available to us, and it doesn't have to be one. There could be 50 in there. You can have as many as you want or as few as you want. In this case, I wanted one, so I've added one. It'd be a pretty boring video if you watch me just create action after action after action. So we've got our XORF email, which I said to you I've got variables for, so I'm going to stick those variables in here. But you would just type in your email address and your API key, or again, you can use a custom variable for them like I have your zone ID. Now, I do have a custom variable for a zone ID, but in this case, I'm going to map it to the webhook because we sent it. So that's our zone ID. The mode, we know from here, it's a block. So we want to block. Our target, we know it's an IP, so we're just going to type IP. Now, our value, this is from our webhook. So we're going to select our IP from our webhook. And our notes. So we know our notes are in the webhook. So we're going to take our notes. We don't need to pick a connect account because our authorization is already up here in our headers as it was designed on the postmark curl request. So we're now going to save and test our action. And that was a successful attempt. So that data has now been sent to Cloudflare. And it should, when we get to Cloudflare and we refresh the page, we should see down here a no access rule. And all being well, when it reloads, we will have we have an access rule. So it applies to this website, bad actor 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a block. So we're going to close that, delete that, so that we can put this all together. We're going to go back to our workflow on FlowMattic. We're going to save that workflow one more time. We're going to set it to draft. From draft to live, it is successfully done. Save it just in case, and that's it. Our gateway is now live. So to test that, we're going to once again reload Cloudflare just to make sure there's nothing there, and we deleted it. So we give it a few seconds, and there's nothing there. We now go back to our command prompt and type in our Cloudflare demo batch script. It asks us for an IP address, and to be different this time, this go with blocking 1, 2, 3, 5. Now, the zone ID, as I said, we're using a real zone ID here, so we're going to just copy and paste that in. And the reason for blocking, I'm going to put fraud, which is a genuine reason why you might actually use this script. Now, I'm not even going to check FlowMattic, but I'm going to reset Cloudflare. It is pretty quick. It's on a pretty quick server. FlowMattic's pretty quick. My computer's fairly good. And it's there. Seconds, and it's in Cloudflare ready to work. And if you want to check that out, we could actually go to our workflows and we can view our history. And we can see that at 9:14:28, which is about 9 now, then it ran, and we can view the details of that, and they're both successful, and what was sent, and where it went, and yeah, that's how it works. And that is our first custom app built using FlowMattic, using some API documentation, the wonderful curl importer, in less than 16 minutes. And that included me droning on at the beginning. So that is how simple it is to make your own custom apps using FlowMattic and API documentation. Hopefully that was of some use to everyone. And if you like this video and you want more videos like this, please like and subscribe. And if you want a particular topic covered, leave it in the comments, leave it in one of the Facebook groups for me, and I will pick it up and I will do a video on it. But I hope this helps people use FlowMattic to create custom apps and realize the full potential of those custom apps and those custom APIs. Thank you.